So it's just a quick video for the basics on how to tank with a Dragon Knight tank. It is required for pretty much most content in the game. You can clear it with any tanks, to be fair. Well, the DK tank's always been like the generic tanking class, and it does offer quite a lot of buffs. It's got quite a lot of good self-sustain, very strong and very able, like in mob pulling. Comes with one of the best chain pulls in the game. So first of all, we'll start with a race, which is the Nord. The reason we choose the Nord is because of his racial passives. Now, it's not just the best, one does anything, one does everything. Bretons can be quite good through their tanking as passive from gaining resistance, the reduction in cost of magicka skills. Bretons are pretty good tanks as well as Nords. But the Nord has quite a lot of health in terms of getting extra health and resistances. Obviously resistance does equal health as well, seeing as though it is reducing, it's also increasing your health pool by not dealing as much damage as it should. Increases your stamina. When you take damage, you gain ultimate. Ulti gain is another big thing on the Dragon Knight. And then your free resistance is there for nothing, just straight out the door. So he's quite a tanky class, quite a tanky race is the Nord. And the reason ulti gen is so good is because of the passive in one of your class lines or battle roar. You cast an ultimate, basically gives you health, stamina and magicka back for as many points as you use. So as much ultimate as you can pump out is as much resources you can keep up, which is pretty good. I'm going to try and cover the basics straight off, like to do with the race. Attributes, straight all in health, as you can see there, magicka and stamina. They get sorted through gear and food and your maximum health. You want to sit over 40k at least. Anything over that is good, but I would recommend banging all the points straight into health. You will notice this from a few guides as well. Waller, back in the day, he pretty much were a guy that told you to split him however you saw fit, like how you needs. Him and Alcast now write the guides for pretty much most of the stuff now. So there's Alcast guides, also explaining boss mechanics and things like that. And the Tank Club, TC Lee, this is pretty much a build that's based on his dungeon slash main tank for pretty much a few of the trials and harder dungeons and things. So this will pretty much clear quite a lot of content in the game, like unless you're not score pushing, or should I say unless you are score pushing, then you probably would look at a more defined and tweaked build. But this will get anybody from straight out the door straight into veteran content, clearing everything. I would say, as you can see, I've already cleared Veteran Sun Spire with this exact same build as it is now. Maybe just a few things changed, but it's pretty much a walk in the park with this build. It's as long as you can like micromanage your resources pretty well and just remember all of your cooldowns and things like that. Things need to be up and down on cooldown, which also brings me, while we're at the start, to combat. Always make sure these two are on. It is just so good that they implement it into the game now rather than having add-ons cluttering all your memory. So as you can see, if I cast this and this on this bar, switch to the front bar, there's little bars telling me how long they last. Same with this one and this one, not that one, this one. Then you know to go back and clear this one and this one. This is basically a game of juggling bars, keep things up for debuffs and buffs. If you can master that, you've basically mastered the class. So that's another handy option there. In combat, just always have a look at things, like this is how I have mine set up. Just helps me better with my UI as well. Make sure your combat text's on, make sure your buff and debuffs on, even from other players, so you know who's applying which debuffs, so you know you're not overwriting debuffs. That's pretty much that for that setting. So we've got the attributes, we've got the basics on that. So the skills I prefer to use are these, with the sword and board on primary and ice staff on the backup. We'll go over why we use these in a minute, but basically the one-handed shield on the front for the most resistance. It will be the first active skill that you morph into pierce armor to give major and minor breach, which reduces the physical and spell resistance by quite a lot. Heroic slash for the ultimate gain, and to also reduce the damage done by that enemy by 5%. I did gain defensive posture, as I explained in a video that didn't record earlier, just for the fact of some of the champion points work differently with damage shields now, where you get more tankiness from having a damage shield, etc. But I would definitely go for these two and all the passives. And in the destruction staff, I would possibly, if you are tight for points, only get the second active skill and morph it to elemental blockade, and then all the passives as well. The heavy armor, I would get all of the passives, and as a preference I would go into the medium and get these 4 passives. I will explain that as well as I go into gear. The Fighters Guild, you could use a silver bolt for the silver leash instead of the fiery grip, but one costs magicka, one costs stamina, and seeing as though we are using balance from the Mages Guild, we are better off using magicka skills, as it's just pretty much infinite magicka. I'm missing a few passives on here myself. I'm only level 8 on this, and I'm not really being bothered to spend 3,000 crowns just to get these last 3 points. But basically, you will just get an extra 1% magicka regen and a pointless passive for a tank anyway. The best two are these two here, because it reduces the health it costs for it and it increases the duration. So it's like if you are just to absolutely spam out your magicka, and then just spam this, your magicka just flies back up. And with the healing debuff that it does give, I think it does say on there, yep, so it reduces your healing done and your damage shield strength. It doesn't alter anybody else's that they apply to you, so if you've got a good healer in the group, you can spam this all day. You could run around bosses and just spam this all day, and there's no way that you're going to die, even though you are chunking into your health. You'll instantly fill it up from the healers anyway. So it is a really good skill to have. But if you do not have that skill, the Hardened Armor from, is it the Hardened? Yeah, Hardened Armor, that can replace it for now, but the duration of the resolve is shorter, so you won't have your resistances up as long, but it does give you a small little damage shield as well. But it is good to have until you get your Mages Guild up, because it's a pain in the ass to get up. So I have just gone over briefly the skills that I would use for the sword and board. So now we've got Green Dragon Blood, which is in the Draconic power. We use that as our main heal. You take a lot of damage, you pop that, and it'll just increase your heal. Increase your health, sorry. And also from the passives, while it is active, you receive 12% from external sources as well as your own healing. And also just a bit of health recovery while it's active. But it is a really good strong skill to have. Next one is Engulfing Flames. Now I know this caps out at 10%, and I know not everyone plays Magicka DK to be able to give you this at 10%, so 7% is better than no percent. But as you are both doing 4-man and 12-man trials, it will eventually see between 8 and 9%. I'm not sure if you can hit the top 10% in a fully buffed raid, but it's good enough at 7% as it is, and also increases the damage that they take, as well as obviously putting a dot on that enemy and applying a little bit to the team DPS. Igneous Shield, some people use the Fragmented Shield, that is in the Earthen Heart. It's the third active skill. You use this mainly just to give yourself the oh shit moment where you might be low on health, you pop this and then you pop the blood. Reason being is that Igneous Shield gives you major mending, which increases your healing by 60% for 3 seconds. Also gives you a damage shield as well, and applies 4k shield to allies around you as well. It's quite handy in teams and groups. And my ultimate for this is the PvP Alliance War ultimate, which is the Ablation Barrier, which is a Morphin Barrier. Really handy, little quick god mode. Do recommend leveling the PvP stuff up in the PvP events, as you will need some of them. And same for the back bar, the aggressive horn, to basically increase everybody's critical damage for quite some time, and increase magicka and stamina, which also boosts damage indirectly for 30 seconds as well. So that's my front bar, and the back bar is Inner Rage, which is skill from the Undaunted. Third active will morph into Inner Rage, and basically it's just a ranged taunt. No matter like what you are taunting, you will taunt it with this. I'll try to think what else. Yeah, it also applies a synergy for other players, and they can activate that and deal damage over time as well on it. Would always recommend both passives in this when you've leveled it as well to level 9. So we have the Fiery Grip, which is an Ardent Flame. Same with the Engulfing Flame as well, from the Ardent Flame class line. Best chain in the game, also applies damage, also gives you major expedition, increases your own movement speed, and if the target cannot be pulled, you restore the full abilities cost as magicka back. So it's a free cast, basically just to do a bit more damage, help out the team. Would recommend all the passives as well, as it does benefit these two skills. With being overbalanced, how good it is. 30-second major resolve, basically increasing both your resistances. So if you take a look at my character now, pretty weak resistances at 22k, pop it, go back to the shield for the most resistance, you're at 30k. In group content you're always sat at 33k, which is the cap, so you're alright there for resistances, as long as you build the same way that this character is built. So for the other skills, Vigor from the PvP line again, which is, yeah, it's the first one. A lot of people will choose the first one because it is a good strong heal for yourself, but Echoing Vigor is not that much weaker, and it lasts so much longer, and it applies to pretty much everyone that it hits. I think it hits up to 10 players or 8 players or something like that. Unless they change the AoE on it and it applies to everybody, I'm not too sure, but the reason we use that I will explain as well when we go into gear. And the Blockade is simply for the enchantment to keep refreshing, which I'm going to come on to now when we go to gear. So the talent that we have on the DK is Decisive. For obviously being the ulti gain, you use Igneous Shield, you gain ultimate in loads of different ways, and this gives you a chance to gain that one more ultimate towards everything that you're gaining. Yeah, I'm not sure if it does have a cooldown, but it's a pretty good talent to have. Flame damage on there, we'll explain from the monster set why I used that. Shield and all the armour, make sure you have the sturdy trait, it reduces the cost of block. Some trials you find you will be blocking more than others until people gain enough damage to kill the things that are attacking you, but it's handy just to have anyway, seeing as though there is no other beneficial trait to have other than infused. So if you're not blocking, you're better off having more stats. But apart from that, I found sturdy to always be the best. I do use tri-stat on everything, but health and stamina and magicka you can split out yourself, so you've got your own stats. The reason we do use the frost staff is because of the enchantment, and infused basically makes that enchantment able to proc 100% uptime. So as you can see under the dummy's health bar, you can see the little hammer, the crusher, as you can see, just went to 0 and straight back to 4. So you just basically want to try and keep this up, so like at 1 second refresh, and then it will pretty much constantly stay up, and that reduces the armor of the enemy that you're attacking and allows it to take a lot more damage from the whole team. So that's the reason we use this. Powerful Assault, the 5th piece is where that's at when you use an assault ability, which Vigor is. So every time you cast Vigor, everyone gains 307 weapon and spell damage flat before modifiers. So it's just as simple as that. You can see on the bottom bar it looks like the little Hindu symbol with the 4 seconds. It's not the guy with the beaming light, it's the one next to it now. You always know when it's up, plus you've got it on your bar, so if you only have that, you've got your front bar, you can see it ticking away. Just try not to let it drop off too long, and then just get it back up. If you are running out of stamina, quick heavy attack, stamina right. Pop it, heavy attack, you're back. Also, Igneous Shield gives you stamina, so if you need to pop, heavy attack, and then Igneous Shield, it will all come back. Now that is very handy as it applies up to 10 people, I do believe. 5, sorry. So you will need to pop it a couple of times in a big group unless you've got 2 people wearing this set. But pretty much the 5 group members that will be receiving it are the group members doing the most damage anyway. So that's the Ice Staff and the Crusher enchantment. So the monster set I will be using is Encrates. It buffs the fuck out of fire damage. Considering there is quite a lot of infused fire back bars now, there's a lot of fire enchants being used in stamina DPS, there's a lot of Maelstrom fire staves used on stamina DPS. This just basically makes the enemies inside the aura take 5% more damage from all the fire sources that are given. So that's the reason I chose the flame damage on the front bar. So as you see, a hit with fire, the aura comes in, anything stood in that aura receives 5% more fire damage. All allies stood in there receive 5% less fire damage, which is handy in some dungeons like London Forge and things like that, but mainly trials where there's a lot of incoming fire. So that's the reason I use Encrates. And the fact it does have magicka, which we do need. Same against sturdy with a tri-stat. And the way I run my armour is chest, hands, legs, feet and necklace of one set, which is usually my main set, and then the 2 rings, the belt and the weapons of the offset. So this one is medium. As I mentioned before in the lines, the reason I choose these 4 is just because you get the bonuses, as there's no negatives, no negative bonuses to having medium armor, whereas light armor there is, and I think light armor is more towards damage than it is anything else. The healing from that is beneficial, the recovery for when you're not blocking, and also the reduction in your stamina skills. Stamina skills also apply to your roll dodge, your blocking, your running, everything. It's classed as an ability. Agility not so much needed, but it does help with your own heals and your own things like that. And the movement speed and roll dodge cost is ideal as well. So that's the reason I run the medium piece on a belt, or the lightest weight, and also it is the smallest loss in resistances compared to the other chests. As you can see, like the heavy is 3215, you'll be dropping 1200 resistances, as there, like it's only 200 between light and medium, 260 or 258 or whatever it is, and then it's pretty much the same again between that and heavy, I think, or very close. So that's the least resistance if you want to try and min-max your resistance, least resistance loss. So the set I prefer to use on the front is this. They probably will take you a while to get your print unless you can find good groups that can just carry you through it. Basically, taunt an enemy, which when you taunt you'll see like a broken shield at the top. That's when you've taunted it. When that runs out, that enemy can run to anybody else then. The two little orbs at the side of it, they are the minor and major fracture, so you know that you've definitely picked up that boss when you've hit him. The broken sword is the reduction in 5% damage. So you know from those 4 icons that you've got your first 2 buffs and debuffs on there. And also it gives minor courage to everyone, so as you can see in my toolbar at the bottom, it's giving me that 12 seconds. That's basically using my spell damage and weapon damage. So if I drop that, not this, I'm 3200 weapon and spell damage near enough, which also increases all my heals and things like that, damage over time, so it is a good help to the team. Back to the inventory, so that's those sets, and then Powerful Assault I have been over. The traits on the jewellery, it depends on the situation. Sometimes you will need 3 Harmony if you're playing things like Cloud Rest, to make sure you take the synergies to heal up full. You could run 3 Infused Magicka Regen if you aren't a DK or not using balance. You could use Triune to have all 3 stats as well to increase your pulls. There's quite a few you can use on this. You can use a mixture as well if you really needed to, but that I just use it for the max health pulls. And the enchantments on those, I could probably get away with 3 block cost now. Now I've moved on to using balance. Don't really need that Magicka recovery. Apart from that, that's the tri-stats covered. The food, Druid Sugar Skulls are the best. You can use the scabby little chicken meals that you get. Just anything with tri-stat food. So a lot of the potions, just tri-stat potions. You can use more tailored potions, like you could use movement speed ones to negate the movement speed from the champion point debuff. You could use ultimate gain potions. There's quite a lot of potions you can use, to be fair, but that is pretty much the basics of the gear and the skills. A simple rotation on a boss would be something like this before you attend, so you put your own buff on, you would give everyone the Powerful Assault, so buff, and then you would use your Igneous Shield, switch back, you would range taunt, rolling through the boss so the boss is facing you, get your wall down, let that crusher proc away, taunt him hard style, keep him debuff, keep the Igneous Shield up, wall, the power, and then as you see, everything just seems to like kind of land in a way where you can just keep going backwards and just keep doing it. So if I try and drain my resources now, I'll show you what I mean with the ultimate. So like we're down quite low, this ultimate fills everything back up. Just do that. It is handy to keep light attacking in between every skill, as your enchant will keep knocking off your weapons. So like light attack skill, light attack skill, light attack skill. Just as simple as that. Keep it all over. It doesn't matter if you overcast, but you can always go give yourself some magic if you really need it. Power up the spell, cast and overcast that. It's ideal not to overcast, but if you're on the same bar and you've got a few seconds left, you may go overcast. Igneous Shield there. And if you get out of magic, you can also heavy attack yourself the shield with the ice staff. So don't forget to keep the dragon blood up as well if you need to for the extra healing. As you can see, the element's back already. We'll probably gain it back a lot quicker by focusing on the skills that will keep the element back. As well. Well, as you can see, it's just a bad juggling game, that's all. It's a lot harder to concentrate when you're in an actual fight, and it's harder to maintain your resources as well if you don't have the right people in there helping you. But that is pretty much it in terms of debuffing. If you've got combat metrics, you can also check your debuff times and things like that. So like the taunting, the breaching, the powerful assault, you can check everything that way. Aside from that, I think I'll leave this video and possibly make another video on actual gameplay, but I'll leave this now as just an introduction to the build.